Coming up on Network Africa, a sad holiday in the Democratic Republic of Congo as 4 people killed after a landslide in the eastern region of South Kivu. A 194 babies born on Christmas Day in South Africa, marking the highest number recorded during this period. Plus, Egypt proposes a 3-phase ceasefire plan to end the war between Israel and Hamas. Hello and welcome to the program. Compliments of the season to you. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the Electoral Commission, CENI, continues to release partial results from the December 20th presidential election, with incumbent leader Felix Tshisekedi leading by a wide margin, over 80% of the vote. The results announced so far relate to over 1.8 million voters out of a total of nearly 44 million registered in the vast country of around 100 million inhabitants. Well, according to CENI, at this stage of the vote count, Felix Tshisekedi, who has been in power since the beginning of 2019 and is running for a second 5-year term, has achieved a score of 81.4%. However, opposition candidates have been denouncing what they call the chaos and irregularities that marred the vote since the very first day. Some are planning a demonstration for next Wednesday, while others are calling for the elections to be cancelled outrightly. Well, still in the DRC, at least 4 people have died, with another 20 feared missing after a river swept away a building in South Kivu, the east of the country. The accident happened in the rural and mining territory of Mwenga, where local people sheltered from heavy rains under a hangar serving as a makeshift restaurant on the banks of the river. According to the deputy mayor of Kamituga, Alexander Ngandu, a major town in the eastern South Kivu region, that the torrential rains also caused considerable property damage. Experts say extreme weather events are happening with increased frequency and intensity due to climate change. Back in May, the Kalehe territory of South Kivu province, at least 438 bodies were found in areas hit by flooding caused by heavy rains. Local authorities also estimate that more than 5,000 people went missing. Moving to the southern part of the continent, 6 people have died and 10 people are missing following floods that swept through Ladysmith in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. KZN Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs says search and rescue teams who worked on Christmas Day trying to find those that are missing have resumed duties today. The officials say 3 victims were found in a minibus carrying 9 passengers. The 6 others are still missing. 1 person was found dead in a house destroyed by water. 2 other people were inside and have still not been located. At least 2 other residents were also found dead in their vehicle, which had been swept away by the floods. Well, further heavy rain is expected in KwaZulu-Natal on Tuesday. In the meantime, South Africa's Gauteng Provincial Health Department says 194 babies have been born between the stroke of midnight and midday in the province on Christmas Day. At the Steve Biko Academic Hospital in Shwane, a special moment unfolded with the birth of a set of twins. The first 12 hours of Christmas Day saw the birth of 103 boys and 91 girls, marking the highest number recorded during this period. Health MEC Nomantu Nkomo Raheleko extended a warm welcome to the newborns and their parents, as shared by department spokesperson Motalale Modiba.
MEC for Health and Wellness Nomantu Nkomo Raheleko today congratulated parents of newborn babies who were delivered at public health facilities across the province. About 194 babies were born today between 12 midnight and 12 in the afternoon. The MEC had visited one of the facilities in the morning where she presented visibly excited mothers of newly born babies with gifts and celebrated with them as they welcomed their bundles of joy. She used the opportunity to actually encourage parents of newborn babies to ensure that their babies are registered immediately after birth through the Department of Home Affairs offices across all Gauteng public hospitals. She also urged parents to ensure that their bundles of joy are immunized at regular ages as set out in the Road to Healthcare booklet to protect them against diseases such as polio, hepatitis, measles, and meningitis, emphasizing that immunization is free across all our health facilities.
It's the day after Christmas, better known as Boxing Day, which originated in the United Kingdom and is celebrated in several Commonwealth nations. Boxing Day is also celebrated simultaneously with the Christian festival St. Stephen's Day. Some historical accounts say it is called Boxing Day because churches traditionally place money collection boxes for special offerings tied to the feast of St. Stephen. Other historical accounts record that in ancient times, alms were given to those in need on Boxing Day. Employees who were required to serve their masters on Christmas Day but allowed to see their families the next day received boxes containing gifts, bonuses, and leftover food from their employers. In Nigeria, Boxing Day is a public holiday if it falls on a working day. Well, here in Nigeria, Christian faithfuls have joined their counterparts in other parts of the world to celebrate the birth of Christ, with calls to live in love, peace, and brotherly love resonating. Our next report shows the celebrations in the southern part of the country, where most governors aligned with the federal government's renewed hope agenda, calling on Nigerians to look forward to better days.
Every 25th day of December, the world joins Christians in the celebration of a special day, a day dedicated to the birth of the Savior of the world. In the country, despite current economic challenges, the celebration is unhindered as many Nigerians make their way to churches and recreational centers with family and friends. In the southern part of the country, the celebration is palpable as many are hopeful for better days. The economic nerve center of the nation comes alive as usual this Christmas as the governor joins Lagosians to celebrate the birth of Christ. The governor, who spoke after the Christmas service at the Cathedral Church of Christ, Marina, asked Nigerians to remain hopeful in the face of the global economic crisis as the tough times will soon pass. On his part, the Diocesan Bishop of Lagos Anglican Communion says there's good news ahead for Nigerians.
Jesus is the good news for mankind. We don't want the news of war anymore in this country. We don't want the news of crisis anymore. We don't want the news of insurgency anymore. We don't want the news of rapes, suicide, poverty, flood, accident, epidemics and pandemics. All these are bad news. They will never be your portion.
The country has indeed gone through a lot. The world has indeed gone through a lot. And so my message to all Lagosians is to remain hopeful, is to know that indeed what we're going through is not peculiar to us and better times are ahead of us.
Meanwhile, in another part of Lagos, the head pastor of the Kingsway International Christian Center calls on Nigerians to work in achieving the same final goal of making the country a better place by supporting the current administration's policies.
There is still room for the miraculous in our nation. And I want everyone to just understand that and let us embrace the expectation of the miraculous from God while we also keep on working, doing what He has told us to do. We can't give up on our nation. We can't give up on the future of this nation.
In Ogun State, Dakbo Abiodun, in company of his wife and other members of the State Executive Council, attended a church service at the St. James Anglican Church, Ikperu, in Ikenne local government area of the state. The governor reiterates his administration's plan to activate community development policies in the years ahead.
With a renewed hope, there's imminent and obvious light at the end of the tunnel. But whilst going through this period, the administration that you entrusted this government to and with will not forget you.
In the eastern part of the country, the Anambra State Governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, called on Nigerians to extend real love to each other and pay no attention to frivolities.
This is a season to show love. Do something for someone this season. Make someone smile in whatever way. Say something nice to somebody. Do something nice to somebody. Attend to somebody's need and leave no one behind.
His colleague, the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, says that 2024 will be a much greater year for the country as he restates his commitment to putting the state on the trajectory of development.
I'm confident that under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria will be better. I've interviewed our president. We have discussed. I've looked at his programs. Coming from the private sector, I'm very confident he will not afford any mistake. And if we don't get Nigeria right under him, it will be difficult to get Nigeria right. I'm very confident that we're on the right track. And I urge all Nigerians to support him to deliver on his programs.
The message of Christmas is one of love, peace, redemption, and sacrifice, virtues that the leaders and the followers should rededicate and commit themselves to. And the call for Nigerians to imbibe these futures remains constant.
And it's a similar sentiment in other parts of northern Nigeria where Christian faithful attended services to mark the day. Most of the messages centered around love and unity. The clerics also seized the opportunity to speak about the need for collective efforts in bringing positive change to the country.
25th December of every year is a day Christians all over the world celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. It is a time of spiritual reflection on the foundations of the Christian faith.
And the person will keep leading us now.
This year is no different as Christian faithful gather in different churches to celebrate. In Sokoto State, the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese, Most Reverend Matthew Coker, is calling on Christians in Nigeria to emulate the life of Christ by promoting peace. This formed part of his Christmas message during Mass.
Mr. President, you have no excuse before God, before the people of Nigeria, because God has answered your prayer. Neither God nor history will forgive you if you fail. For this is our moment, our date with history. Now all eyes are on you. Our prayer for a united country are with you. You have promised us a renewed hope agenda. But know that hope has one thing in our dear nation. Nigerians have almost lost hope in the fact that a government can really and truly love them. Nigerians have lost hope in the fact that our politicians will ever put our interests or find a way to deal with the cancer of corruption. We had lost hope in being united, given the seeds of division that had been sown. Please, sir, ignite our hope.
In the same light, the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Zamfara State, Right Reverend John Dambita, enjoins Nigerian leaders to shun primordial sentiment.
To build this country, we must take this country as one. The issue of you are Hausa, you are Fulani, you are Baju, you are Java, you are Katab, you are Nunzam, you are this and that, you are Igbo, you are Yoruba, you are all that. No, we should put that aside first. Let us say we are Nigerians. Let us focus on building our country, Nigeria. Let us all arise and contribute our quota to make Nigeria great.
Fellow Tarabans.
Meanwhile, in Taraba State, Governor Abu Kefas, during a live broadcast, asked residents to approach the Christmas season with hope, collective efforts, and resilience despite security challenges bedeviling the state. When he got to church, he cautioned his critics, insisting his many trips are to attract good to the state.
This day is very rich. We are rich in human resources, different kinds of people, different religions coming together. If we work together, you can imagine what we can bring to this country. But if you sit down here in the state, you are going to sit down. And the sitting government, nothing will come and meet you there. You have to walk.
Aside church services, the show of love to the less privileged also forms a major part of the Christmas celebration. In Adamawa, the Catholic Bishop of Yola Diocese reaches out to inmates. This act of love demonstrates the love of God showed when he sent his only Son, Jesus Christ, for the salvation of humanity.
We are here in this correctional center in order to present some items so that they will also be, they will feel happy and celebrate Christmas with joy. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
There are other forms of celebrations to mark today in other parts of the northern Nigeria, with a consensus that when there is life, there is hope of a better tomorrow.
Welcome back to the program. Niger has suspended all cooperation with the International Organization of Francophone Nations as it progressively severs ties with former colonial ruler France. According to the Nigerian military leaders, the 88-member body has always been used by France as an instrument to defend French interests. The military seized power in Niger in a coup in July, which was strongly condemned by France and other Western allies. It soon kicked out French troops, which had been helping to fight a decade-old armed rebellion in the West African country. Well, the organization had already suspended most cooperation with Niger last week because of the coup, but said it will maintain those programs that directly benefit civilian population and those contributing to the restoration of democracy. Well, the military government says it has not yet decided how long it will hold on to power, but that the length of transition would be determined after an inclusive national dialogue. Egypt proposed a three-phase plan to end the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, but it is unclear how the warring parties will receive it. According to sources, Egypt's three-phase deal would secure the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. In the first phase of the plan, Israel would be expected to pause its military operations for Hamas to release hostages. The second phase includes an agreement of the exchange of bodies of Hamas militants held by Israel for the bodies of Israeli hostages held by Hamas, while the third phase is expected to include an all-for-all deal, meaning Israel would return 6,000 Palestinian prisoners in its jails for the remaining Israeli hostages, including soldiers in Hamas captivity. Well, joining us now for more on this is Edward Yeranian, the VOA's correspondent in Cairo. Hello, Edward. What more can you tell us about the proposal from Egypt?
Well, Leo, I'm not sure that really anyone was expecting this plan to be accepted outright, but at least it serves as a reference point when both parties start getting ready to negotiate or come to the table. At this point, I don't think either side is ready, and perhaps they never will be. But one of the points of the plan is that it could be premised that the parties would lose power, that Hamas could suddenly become very unpopular and lose power, and that the people could step up and say, we don't want you anymore. and that the same thing could happen in Israel. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen on either side, but I've seen a lot of misinformation in the media, especially about Hamas, to the effect that they're more popular than ever. I really doubt that. It's very unlikely, and most of the media levers inside Gaza are controlled by Hamas. So, it's difficult to rely on some of the information you hear. And at the same time, we know that a lot of Western parties would like to get rid of Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel. And I'm not sure that he's as unpopular as the media often portrays him to be. So I don't know that that's going to happen either. But Egyptian diplomacy has been trying to arrange elections and some sort of participation by all the Palestinian factions for at least the last 10 years, and they haven't been able to do it. So I don't know that they're going to be able to square the circle this time around either.
Edward, Egypt has been really strategic, in this war. But should the warring factions, accept these proposals? Do you think this could end the war and see the goal of this proposal achieved?
Well, ultimately, they would really need to have elections in order to have some sort of a settlement, but that is based on the assumption that the parties want a settlement. I'm not sure Israel wants to see a full-blown settlement because it might not be in the interest of the Israeli government, or at least the Israeli government in power right now. And I'm not sure that Hamas would like to see a settlement because it would ultimately mean they lose power. Other than the fact that the media keeps saying they're very popular, I don't think they are. And they seized power in 2007. So the Muslim Brotherhood, the Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood, and we've seen them operate here in Egypt. And they're really not as popular as everyone says they are. And the media likes to say they are popular, but they're not.
All right, Edward, just finally, what are you hearing from, Egyptians, analysts and political pundits, on this deal proposed by the government?
Well, I think a lot of people would like to see an agreement, but I don't think anyone really thinks there's going to be one. That's what most of the people that I'm hearing were saying. And really deep down in their hearts, they know there needs to be a settlement, but the conditions are not yet ripe. Will they be at some point in the future? Maybe they will. Maybe that's the point of this proposal, that they're hoping the conditions will be ripe at some point in the near future in order to bring about these things. But at this point, no one seems to think the conditions are ripe.
All right, then we'll just have to wait and see. Well, thank you so much, Edward Yeranian, the VOA's correspondent in Cairo.
My pleasure, Lyle.
The sport roller hockey is gradually gaining attention in Benin Republic thanks to a former French pro player. Kukam Kachweng is firing up young people's interest in the roller skating game.
In Cotonou's Aya Center, Kakum Kamchung, a 42-year-old hockey instructor, has ignited a fervor for roller hockey amongst the city's youth. Kamchung has introduced roller hockey to Benin's sports landscape, a recent addition that has rapidly gained popularity. In just a year, his initiatives have fostered a vibrant club with nearly 100 enthusiastic players, paving the way for an eagerly anticipated and competitive championship on the horizon.
It has been approximately a year since we started the hockey activity, so it's very recent in Benin, after all. But in a record time, today we have a club with around 100 players and other clubs coming up. Other school teams arriving in 2024. So ultimately, we will have a very competitive championship in maybe 6 to 8 months.
For the young kids engaging in the sport, there's an introductory training for those who perhaps do not know how to skate.
When I first came, they took me to Mr. Kukam's office and they asked me if I knew how to skate. I said no, I wouldn't have even come. But suddenly, the day they gave me the skate, I started skating, falling, and then 2 weeks later, I mastered it.
Acknowledging the demanding nature of his pursuits, Kam Chung says his life is a whirlwind of passion and commitment.
My life is incredibly busy and hectic, yet it's also abundantly passionate. I consider myself fortunate to be engaged in a job that I love and to have the opportunity to implement long-held ideas, especially focusing on the development of sports and social activities. It's a passionate but quite tiring job.
Kam Chung's impact transcended Benin's borders. European coaches, captivated by social media glimpses, flocked to witness the burgeoning talent firsthand. Impressed by the displayed skills, several young players earned opportunities for mentorship abroad, potentially opening doors to European leagues.
And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.